Now, let's talk about South African Airways, one of the bigger carriers on the continent. It's been given a 3-week extension to submit financial statements to civil aviation authorities in Hong Kong. If that doesn't happen, they will lose that lucrative Asian route. Now, the state-owned carrier has failed to publish annual reports for the last 2 calendar years. It's in danger of defaulting on its debt, and it was initially given a deadline of the 6th of September. That's tomorrow, but now that's been pushed back all the way to the 30th of this month. SAA spokesperson Tladi Tladi says that the carrier is confident it will meet all outstanding requirements. The business, however, has been marred by controversy and financial mismanagement. It's been surviving on state guarantees, courtesy of South African taxpayers, to the tune of about $1 billion. Ratings agencies and other companies have singled out SAA as a major risk to the country's investment-grade status. Right then, let's see exactly what's going to happen to this carrier. Angelo Coppola is live in Johannesburg. He has been following this story in quite a bit of detail. Angelo, the carrier, through its spokesman earlier today, expressed quite a bit of confidence that they will meet that September 30th deadline to publish these figures. But they haven't published any numbers for the last 2 years. So what's the basis of this confidence we're seeing now from SAA?
Well, Raman, I'm told by an analyst who's very close to this topic that it's now possible to submit not only the 2015 annual report, but also the 2016 one. Nothing's stopping them because, you see, they're a going concern. Well, they're a going concern with another government guarantee. And that's if, of course, the finance minister releases that guarantee, which I'm told he doesn't have to do by law, if he's worried about the corporate governance issues. And there is one major issue here, and that's the fact that the government the chairman holds an executive position, which flies in the face of the King Code, which separates those two roles. So we don't quite know yet if the Minister of Finance, who's currently on his way back from the G20, is actually going to release that 5 billion rand guarantee at the moment. Raman?
Indeed, just convert that, of course, into American for viewers. It's about $340 million or so. Let's get back to SAA, though. Let's assume, for argument's sake, it doesn't meet that September 30th deadline. What will happen to it other than just losing access to that Hong Kong route?
Well, that Hong Kong route is lucrative, but SAA can't afford to lose any lucrative routes. The other destinations may well call for those financials as proof of its ability to pay its fees, to cover landing costs, fuel and other services when they're in those international airports. Or they may be satisfied with a government guarantee. Locally, there's no issue here, though. The regulator is looking for a government guarantee, which he may or may not get, and that's only to satisfy the consumer protection concerns should this particular airline go belly up, and consumers then want to get refunds on the money they've spent on booking their seats. So there's not much risk here at the moment if that guarantee does get released, Rama.
But that guarantee is the million-dollar question, isn't it, Angelo? I mean, Treasury so far has refused to provide that $300 or so million that SAA has been repeatedly asking for. So why does the board think any commercial lender would be willing to lend it over $1 billion? Because that's what they've been asking for on a commercial basis over the last week.
Well, your guess is as good as mine. Just 2 weeks ago, in fact, SAA placed an advert in a national Sunday newspaper calling on interested parties to provide either all or portions of that $1 billion. The carrier needs to make itself cash positive and sustainable. There was an interesting requirement, though, in terms of local procurement rules. South African Airways is looking only for applicants that meet the country's BEE requirements, which effectively rules out any international players who don't have a local partner. We have already seen the reduced appetite for that SOE debt from Future Growth and at least one other fund manager. So the question is, who's got the balance sheet for this? And only the Government Employee Pension Fund, which is run by the PIC, springs to mind. And I wonder what public servants are going to think about their pension money being used to prop up this old sick bird. Ruman?
Indeed, and of course they've already lost about $1 billion in previous guarantees. One last question for you, Angelo. The SAA chairperson, the executive chairperson, Tladi Tladi, she's been reappointed this week as chair, despite the carrier's lousy performance, several governance failures on her watch. The DA has challenged her reappointment, or rather plans to challenge her reappointment, but can they successfully do so? Can they get her out of that post?
Well, they certainly think so. The DA's Musi Maimani says that their legal action is aimed at asking the High Court to review the rationality of the decision to appoint Nyeni, A rationality review is the lowest possible threshold for validity of executive decisions and is concerned with whether there exists a rational connection between the decision taken and the appointment. The DA's legal team now will be in the process of serving papers in the next couple of days, and they'll follow this up with an application in the Western Cape High Court. And there's no doubt that the chair will file a replying affidavit and contest any attempt to oust her, taking us well beyond the 3-week deadline in Hong Kong. This is going to be a really long, drawn-out affair. But meanwhile, the chair remains in place. Rowan?
Indeed. We'll have to see exactly how this plays out. Thank you for that. That's Angela Coppola, of course, live in Johannesburg, South Africa. If you're following that story, worth looking at the left field option. Some have just proposed put the company into business rescue. That's the equivalent of Chapter 11 style American bankruptcy proceedings.